Hello everyone. Okay, so welcome everyone to this reflective session, of course. And if you have been struggling to stay motivated, so it does not mean sometimes you are lazy. Many of us, when we lose motivation, we feel that I may be undisciplined, or I may be lazy, or I'm lacking some discipline, you can say. But many capable people, as you know, they feel this way nowadays, especially. So let's slow down a bit and understand what is actually happening beneath the surface or behind the scene. So we'll discuss that. And this is totally a reflective session, not a motivation completely. We will reflect ourselves during this few minutes or during this duration of the session. So what is happening exactly? So you know, you might have heard people say, I know what I should do, but I just cannot bring myself to do it. How many of you have heard this? Definitely you might have heard this, but they try to motivate themselves in that way. They have watched the videos, motivation videos of authority figures or motivational speakers, and the people, those who want to get motivated, they go for reading different books, self-help books, and they understood the advice also, yet motivation disappears quickly. So what is happening there? So they are trying to get motivated and motivation disappears. So there is a gap is created. So this gap between knowing something, means about motivation, and doing, when they cannot do, that creates a self criticism. But this gap is not a character flaw, and this is not the fault of that person who feels like that, or who feels the gap is there between getting motivated at times and cannot execute according to the motivation. So it is not a character flaw, rather it is an emotional signal. So something is missing, right? So where we need to address it. So there is the gap, and let us address. Now sometimes you might have seen there is a motivation when you heard the motivational speeches of motivational speakers, or when you read books, or when you take a resolution of something that you are going to do it, you are getting motivated, and for that accomplishment of the motivation that you have got, you get disciplined. You try to be disciplined in your work, in your daily life, and you push yourself. And when you push yourself, gradually after a few days you feel exhausted, and when you get exhausted you further cannot continue that discipline, you cannot push yourself, and that motivation slightly fades or sometimes disappears. And when you cannot execute that which you have taken the resolution, you feel guilty for that. So motivation, then discipline, then you are pushing, then exhaustion comes, then guilt feeling comes. When the motivation drops, most people, they respond with pressure, if you could agree with this, right? So motivation is just like a initial spark. You remember any type or any kind of motivation that you have got any day, maybe in past, maybe near past. So what you exactly do, what the motivational speeches or motivational quotes that you read in different platforms, what it brings in your mind, it just feels like a spark in your brain. Yes, I will do this, yes, I will do that, and you take the resolution, you start making yourself disciplined, and you are pushing yourself, and after a few days you get exhausted, and when you get exhausted you cannot do that, and after a few days you will feel guilt over that, and motivation drops. So what you say, why that drops? Because you always say, to stay motivated I should be stronger, I should push more, others are managing, why can't I? So pressure might work for a short time, but over time it leads to exhaustion. That's what is happening. And exhaustion, when you get exhausted and you cannot perform or cannot act, you feel guilty, and finally shut down. And motivation does not fail fast. Initially motivation doesn't fail, it sparks always. And through this whole cycle I told, motivation, then discipline, then push, and then exhaustion, and when exhaustion occurs to you, you feel guilty. So this motivation, what you are doing, or most of the people, most of us, we are doing, there is a push motivation. Somebody needs to push, but always remember there is another kind of motivation, that is pull motivation. And pull motivation is always far far better beyond than the push motivation. Why? Something is there you want to reach, and that is pulling you towards that goal. So that is pull motivation. And pull motivation, you are always stay motivated for that. No exhaustion, no guilt, no extra effort you need to do. You will pleasurably, or you will happily do that. So that's what you need. So motivation does not fail at all fast. Rather, when motivation you are trying to do, you are getting exhausted because you have pushed along, so you feel like you are your nervous system shuts down and you don't feel like going for that again. So that's what is happening. So that is guilt or self criticism occurs for that. So it is the thing. So next one we should discuss about a very important thing. So in the previous discussion just we did, how did we start the loop? Motivation, you try to get disciplined, then you pushed yourself, but when too much you pushed yourself, you got exhausted, and when you get exhausted, then you cannot act, and you felt guilty. So let us not start from motivation fast. So let us, motivation does not come fast, or motivation is not the first step, I say, right? Reality is that if you start that from emotion or emotional state, because any decision you take, if emotion involved, then you will always be motivated. Because I told before some time, that is pull motivation, means something is attracting to you and you are moving towards that. And something is attracting, how do you get attracted to that something or some goal or some task? Because there is a feeling or there is an emotion attached to it. Sorry, there is an emotion attached to it. So always emotional state matters, and emotional state comes before clarity. Because uh, anything you want to be clear, if you feel it emotionally, or you pause with your feelings, then you can be clear about that. And when clarity comes, then your action will be that much definable, actions will be there, right? And when emotions are heavy or ignored sometimes, then that motivation fails actually. So what happens? Why I am telling this, when emotions are heavy or ignored, motivation cannot sustain. Because you might have seen, a good decision you cannot take when you are worried, or you are in a lousy state, I can say, or in a stressful condition. Because if you are in a lousy state or worried state of mind, any situation comes to you to decide something or to take action about something, so that action or that decision may not be that better or a best decision for you, because you are in worried state, you cannot decide better. So what you need to do, don't fix the decision or don't fix the action immediately. Rather, you stay with the emotion, you continue for some time with that same emotion, you feel it, let the emotion, after feeling, after accepting the emotion, or after aware of the emotion, what happens, that emotion will not control you. Rather, you are able to control that emotion or the situation, and when that fades, that particular emotion is not at all controlling you, then you can take the decision, and that decision will be a good decision. So this is why advice alone does not work when someone is emotionally tired. And when someone is emotionally tired, maybe you, maybe me, we need some kind of understanding, some kind of non-judgmental space. Somebody is to be there to whom we should vent out our emotion, or we should be ourselves. That somebody, we should be ourselves. I will sit with me alone to vent out my emotion, or feel the emotion, or name the emotion. Then, so that is what I can pause with it, and I can take the decision better. And what is happening actually, there is a term called emotional fatigue. Our tiredness is not always physical. So sometimes we take rest, we go to sleep, we eat good food also, and still we feel tired mentally. So that is mentally tiredness, and that we can call emotional fatigue. And that is not dramatic. It does not always look like burnout. Often it shows up very quietly. When emotional fatigue builds up, our mind does not shut down randomly. It goes into protection mode, and protection mode, it tries to protect us. It shows up as avoidance, overthinking, emotional numbness, and low motivation. When the mind feels emotionally overloaded or unsafe, so what happens? It does not try to perform better. Just before I told, any emotionally tired people, or if we mentally tired, then we cannot take good decisions, right? So our decision taking ability will be reduced. So that is, uh, we cannot think clearly. So a clear thought is difficult to come in our mind. And when the mind feels emotionally overloaded or unsafe, it does not try to perform better. That's normal. What happens? It tries to protect. And the protection mode of the mind is way of saying like this. I'm giving example. So we will say, our mind will say, this is too much right now. I cannot do anything. So it starts from avoidance first. So how do you avoid some words we say to ourselves? That is, I will do it later. Let me not think about this now. This is not laziness. This dialogues that I told, I will do it later. Let me not think about this now. So this kind of avoidance is not exactly laziness. It is the mind, our mind, postponing what feels emotionally heavy. If something is emotionally heavy, we are postponing that. This is one avoidance. And another is overthinking. The mind keeps anything in analysis mode. So, for example, what if I make a mistake? What if this goes wrong? And then, so that leads to many questions. So we are in a overthinking trap or overthinking loop, right? And overthinking is this not a problem solving anytime. It is the mind trying to prevent the future pain. That is overthinking. Our mind is trying to prevent us from the future pain, the pain that we are going to. It's a predicting. Then we can say emotional numbness, right? So how is that? You feel disconnected sometimes, not sad, not happy, just flat. So this happens when the system reduces emotional input to avoid overload. Already you are overloaded by overthinking. Now emotional numbness will occur. So that you don't have any feeling, right? You are going to a party, you are not feeling that happy. You are going to the office, you are not feeling like you just work there and you just come back to home. You don't have any feeling there, not happy, not sad, or just flat. So this system reduces that our emotional input, and we try to avoid the overload. And what happens then? So that creates a self doubt or self criticism, obviously, because of low motivation. And even simple tasks somebody will give you that time, so that feels heavy, and motivation drops during that time. And it is not because you don't care for that, rather the system, the whole system is conserving your energy, because our mind is always in a protection mode, survival mode. Then what happens after having this all, the mental fog, reduced enthusiasm, you reduce your enthusiasm, you are getting trapped in overthinking, and then emotional numbness occurs to you, no feeling, and then you create self doubt, low motivation. Then hyper self criticism starts. Your inner voice from within, it becomes harsh. Why can't you do this? So like this, why can't you just do this? Sorry. So this is our mind trying to regain control through pressure. Our mind is trying to control ourselves, regain the control through pressure. It puts pressure on us to control. But why this really happen? The mind prioritizes safety over success always. Because I told you, our mind wants always to save energy, and our mind always tries to be in a survival mode or protection mode. So anything difficult, bit difficult task you give, our mind just avoids it. So here what happens? Our mind prioritizes the safety over the success. So when emotional fatigue is present, what happens to us? Growth that feels risky. When you think of growth, your mind will think that it's risky, don't go for it. And when you want to change something, or you want some change, your mind will say, it's unsafe to change now. You don't change your environment, you don't change your job. So like this, any kind of change that will be unsafe, you will feel. And some action, suppose you want to take, so those actions, they feel expensive. You don't feel like taking action because you think that might be that it will be expensive one. So the system, the whole system slows down actually, because you are not now you feel risky about the growth, you feel unsafe about the change, and whatever action you take that is expensive now for you, you feel that. So the whole system that becomes slow down, and you think of what will happen if all the system slows down. Motivation becomes unreliable, and you don't believe that motivation doesn't work, right? You will feel like that motivation does not work. But is it happen like that? So why did the motivation doesn't work? Why did the motivation doesn't work? Because again, I will tell you, I'll just remind you, what did I tell? Motivation is like just like an initial spark. To maintain the spark, okay, spark is good, no problem. But to maintain the spark, you need to uh, continue the fuel, because sparkling uh, matchstick, suppose at the beginning it burns with high flame, but gradually when time passes it consumes oxygen and it burns, gradually the flame reduced. So what do you need to do? When you put that burning splinter in a hydrogen gas, you see that burning splinter will flame off. The flame will be again increased, just like that. The initial spark must be maintained time to time by fueling it, refueling it, refilling it, just like our mind. It also needs refilling. So how do you do that? We don't force it, because a tired mind does not need motivation, it needs understanding. Instead of asking what you do, why can't I do this, you try asking, what has been weighing on me emotionally. You address to your emotion, because everything starts from emotion. So you address to your emotion first, right? So why can't I do this? When you ask to yourself, what happens, why can't I do this? So you are resisting your mind. Your mind wants to do something or do not want to do something, and you are resisting that. Why can't I do? So anything you ask somebody like this, it's a resistance, and resistance communication or transaction does not lead to a good progress. You might have observed this at times. So just try asking, what has been weighing on me emotionally? So what is the emotional load on me? or what am I really feeling now emotionally. So this small shift in a simple question, because questioning yourself and asking right question at right time to yourself will change your destiny, will change your actions, and it will change the bring the shift. And this small shift alone, it will reduce your internal resistance, and motivation returns naturally when the pressure reduces. By this you will reduce the pressure, and when pressure reduces, you again go back to that loop. So when pressure reduces, you don't get feel pushed, rather you feel like you are pulled towards your goal. And when you feel like you are pulled towards your goal, you will continue the discipline, continue the habit, because you love that. So anything you love, anything you enjoy for doing something, so that you continue doing till end, till you achieve. Agreed? So that's the kind of thing. So understanding is always better than forcing. So and I will tell you here, if somebody or someone else or third party maybe, they will not understand us, we are the first person who can understand ourselves, and that is the best option actually. So sit with yourself, take time, pause with yourself, sit somewhere in a quiet place, give time, give space to you. When you are feeling emotionally loaded or tired, you just address to your emotions, what exactly weighing on me emotionally. Then you can continue feeling that, and definitely you can go for the better decisions. So that is what this gentle question will bring you a great shift. So what is the gentle question you can sit with? What am I carrying emotionally right now? So you don't need to solve it immediately. I told you before, don't fix it immediately. You don't need clarity immediately also. You just acknowledge it. You just acknowledge the weight and calm the system. Your whole system will be calmed down. And from that calm, energy slowly returns and clarity begins to start. And you will feel your system is re-energizing. But it always starts from the calm acknowledgement of your emotions quietly, and stay with it. Spend time with your emotions. So that is absolutely needed. Spend time with your emotions. Agreed? So that's what. And so if I tell about so now let us address how we can address our emotions. And this emotional fast really means a sustainable change. And sustainable change does not start with doing more, because always emotion first. In the beginning also I told, whenever you address to your emotion, then your decisions will be sustainable decisions. I will just give you one example here. Suppose there are two children standing. One is your child, your son or daughter. Another child is somebody else's son or daughter. Okay, if we take the point of humanity point of view, then both childs are important for us, of course. But suppose, God forbid, if any unforeseen situation occurred, or simple, two of the child are running, and both are sleeping on the park maybe, or fell down at the same time. So as a parent, sorry, what exactly you do there? What exactly you do there in the first action? So your emotional brain works fast and you act according to your emotion and will pick your child up. Pick your child up. Then the other child you will pick up, but at that moment when both child fell down at the same time, your hand will go to pick your child. You can try this experiment, not intentionally. You can think of this situation, what will happen, or you might have seen this situation anyway. And then after your emotional reaction or emotional action will be there, then your rational brain that will think of picking the other child. So emotion comes first. Any decision you take, emotion comes first, and if emotion is there, definitely that decision will be a sustainable decision. And if you can consciously choose emotion and emotional brain and rational brain working hand in hand, then that decision will be the best decision. It's okay, it needs a practice. So sustainable change does not start with doing more, it starts with understanding what's happening inside. Most people try to change from the outside always. Agreed? So we always try to change from outside, but outside change is not never sustainable, if I am not wrong. So new habits are there, they adapt new routines, you adapt more discipline. But if the emotional system is overloaded, those changes, that new habits, new routines, new discipline, they don't last. So emotional first means, let me first understand my internal state before asking myself to perform these parts. Number one is awareness. Definitely you need awareness. And what is exactly awareness? Awareness is uh, it's just noticing that yes, I'm tired, I'm acknowledging myself, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm emotionally stressed. So let's get aware of that, at what state I am. Because again, I just repeat the same statement, that anything, if we are not in a good state, we cannot take a good decision. A mind, a person having in good state can take good decisions, right? So if I'm tired, if I'm overwhelmed, or if I'm emotionally stressed, uh, then regulation is allowing. So that is, first one is awareness. I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm emotionally stressed. Then regulation. So what is, how will allow the regulation? Because let me slow down instead of pushing through. So when I am feeling, suppose I am telling, I am feeling tired. First I got aware that yes, I am tired. Yes, I am tired. So let me take a rest. So let me not push myself for a next action. Let me not push myself for the next motivation or next plan, next decision. Rather, if I am feeling tired, let me take rest. Is it not that genuine? And then action comes. Now I can take a step that actually fits my energy. So how much is my energy and how much I have regained that one? Awareness, I'm tired. Then regulation, I regulated my emotion. The tiredness, I regulated, balanced after taking a rest. And then my action comes. Now I can take a step that actually fits my energy. So one example I will give here. If you try to exercise when you are emotionally drained, what happens? You skip your days, right? You feel guilty after some days, and finally you quit. But if you first notice, I am emotionally tired today. So if you could notice that, you could have walked instead of run. You could have rested without guilt and resume later more naturally. So that's the alignment you can uh, track with it, isn't it? Now, sometimes intensity does not work long term. Agreed. Sorry. So why intensity does not work long term? Intensity creates a short term results actually, but long term exhaustion. Most people, they don't fail because they lack discipline. They fail because they ignore the signals, pushing through the emotions, create resistance, builds resentment towards the change, and make the consistency feel heavy for them. So that's what happens. So there they lose actually. And if I talk about alignment, so actually the alignment means your actions match your inner capacity. You are not forcing yourself, you are cooperating with your nervous system. And when you are aligned, whenever you discipline, that discipline will feel lighter, not heavy, and it will not give you pressure. You will not feel like something is pushing motivation, right? So you don't need constant motivation there. You recover faster after the setbacks. So that's what happens to you if you aligned with your nervous system, your emotions, nervous systems, and your actions. Everything is aligned. You are always regaining the energy time to time, right? And slowing down, suppose you are worried, you are tired, you are nervous, and you got aware of that, and you slow down for some time, or you take a pause for some time, that is not falling behind. Slowing down is not falling behind. This is a very important reframe. Slowing down is never falling behind. You can say slowing down does not mean stopping. You can repeat it yourself. You can tell to yourself alone. Slowing down, suppose you are slowed, you have slowed down, and you are saying to yourself, don't feel guilty at that time. Rather, you say to yourself, slowing down doesn't mean stopping. It means recalibrating. Just like a GPS recalculates when the route changes. You might have seen that. Slowing down allows your system, whole system, mental system, emotional system, to reset the direction. And people who slow down with awareness, people who slow down with awareness, they burn out less. So less burnout will be there. So don't you want that? And people who slow down with awareness, they quit less. They don't quit. If so, that is less percentage. And they sustain the change later also. So all this is absolutely necessary, right? So finally, what I will say here, you are not broken. If motivation has been difficult lately, please remember, you are not broken. You are likely tired. You are likely overloaded or carrying more than you realize. So understanding yourself is not weakness. It's the beginning of stability. Stay connected to spaces that allow reflection instead of pressure. So self-reflection or self-awareness is the best part to recover. So whenever motivation has felt difficult lately, so please do remember, you are not broken, never broken. And maybe the tiredness will be there, overloaded will be there, maybe you are carrying some emotions, difficult emotions, just be aware of that, right? And definitely you can, once you are aware of something, definitely you can come out of that, you can find the way of that. So as we discussed few of the ways here, and I share this reflections like this regularly. Sorry. I share reflections like this regularly, and you are welcome to stay connected at your own pace, please. So thanks a lot for today for joining this live session. I appreciate you all for spending such nice time and nice reflective time with me. So thanks a lot again to everybody.